I'm going to talk about something that most non-tech professionals have encountered and quietly given up on: automation. You've probably heard the word. Maybe someone mentioned Zapier at a conference, and maybe you clicked on an article called How to Automate Your Marketing and opened the Zapier homepage and then started to figure out something, got a little overwhelmed and said, I don't even know where to start, and then you probably closed the tab. The problem is that most automation content assumes you already know what you want to automate and how automation tools function. But actually, most people don't. They just have a vague sense that they're doing too much manually but don't really know what to automate and how to. So let's fix that. This video is the automation explainer I wish I had a few months ago. What it does, how it works, what's actually possible for someone non-technical, and exactly where to start. Let's get into it. So, what does automation actually mean? Let's start from zero. Okay, automation means something happens and then something else happens automatically without you in the middle pushing it along. That's it. So think of it like a row of dominoes. You set them up once very carefully in the right order, and then you tip the first one, and everything else falls into its place on its own. You don't have to go back, push each domino individually. Just set up, and that does the work. In practice, a trigger, something that happens to in one of your tools, causes an action to happen in another tool automatically without you really touching it in any way. A new email arrives in a specific folder, that's a trigger. A summary of that email appears in your Slack, that's the action. You didn't do anything, the system did it. Here are a few real examples for all the non-tech professionals. Let me show you these automations that actually can run right now and no code is actually needed. It's just a couple of hours of setup with a few tools and it'll all be ready. Let's look at them. Number one, when a customer review is posted, AI analyzes the sentiment, drafts a personalized response in your brand voice, saves it as a draft. What you do is you read the draft, make any tweaks, and post it in under 1 minute instead of 10 minutes. The tools you use are Google Reviews, Trustpilot, Zapier, and ChatGPT. Here's a second example. When a new lead fills in your contact form, AI drafts a personalized first response email based on what they wrote, adds them to your CRM, you review the email, personalize it if needed, and send it. The lead never waits more than a minute. The tools that could be used here are Typeform or Tally, Zapier, ChatGPT, plus your CRM. Did you see? All those tasks that most professionals do manually every week, you could do it with automation in minutes. None of them really require a developer or your coding skills. All of them just require a few hours of setup and then they just run. Now, coming to the important point, what tool to use? Which one should you start with? There are two tools that most non-professionals use to build automations. One is Zapier and the other is Make, formerly known as Integromate. But both do the same fundamental thing. They connect your apps and make triggers and actions happen between them. The difference is in the complexity and flexibility. Pause the next screen and take a closer look at the difference between the two for you to get a better understanding of both the tools. Here's my honest recommendation for where to start. I would suggest start with Zapier. Not because it's better, but just because Zapier is the most beginner friendly tool of the two. It has the most integrations, and uh, you will get your first working automation the fastest. Make is more powerful for like complex workflows, but I would still let you choose which one you would like to pick. Once you've got one automation running and you understand the trigger action logic, you can always move on to any other tool or from Zapier to Make for more complex work. But start where it's easier to succeed and then give your brain that dopamine of completing a task successfully so that it can take on to the next one. All right, but how do you pick your first automation task? Like, here is a here's the question that will tell you exactly which task to automate first. Okay, what task do you do manually on repeat that has a clear trigger? Like I said, a trigger is something that happens, a form submission, an email arriving, a document being created, something being posted or published, a scheduled time that reliably kicks off a predictable sequence of actions. Now, if you describe your task as every time X happens, I do Y, that's an automation waiting to exist, honestly. So, here's one more rule, but start with your most frequent and simplest task. Not really the most exciting one. The automation that saves you 10 minutes a day is worth more uh, than the clever one you will use like twice a month. So pick one with one trigger and one clear output, and then move on to complex workflows. Just build the simplest one first. And here is an example of a work in progress workflow that is built by me. You can take a look at that. So here is a workflow that is work in progress, which I have created on make.com. And I use make.com only because I did try my hands at Zapier first and it was pretty easy and fun. So I wanted to explore make. If you look at this whole flow, you get to see that there are two Apify, then there is a prompt given to Google Gemini, and then there is a router which leads to two paths. The thing is that here we are trying to scrape anything that is trending, that is up in the news, or something that's going viral on Instagram. And this is what these two are going to do, the first two. And then there is a prompt given to Gemini where I say what exactly it needs to do. So whenever it has script in the reel format, it should send the script to Google Docs, and if it creates something in a carousel format, then it should go to Google Slides. So this is what this workflow does. So first it checks for carousel path, and if that is not the case, then it moves to the fallback, which is Google Docs, where the reel scripts end up in. So it looks something like this. So here is how the scripts end up into this folder, and then there is another folder which is for carousels. Of course, this is a work in progress, it's not the final thing, but it's been fun working on this, and that's exactly what I want to tell you, that go ahead, try, experiment, explore. And also let me know in the comments if you want me to create a full video on these things where we talk about how to integrate and how to create workflows step by step. Yes, I hope you enjoyed seeing this colorful visual workflow. And yes, it was not easy. There were a lot of errors that came in, and every time there was an error, I again went back to LLM to check in what was the issue, but everything was fixable. So yes, that is possible, and you should definitely keep at it. One honest thing before we close. Your first automation will probably break once, a field name changes, a tool update, there's an interface update, a step doesn't fire the way you were expecting. All of this is normal, okay? It's not a sign that you did wrong. Even the work in progress that I just showed you had so many glitches and I had to fix so many of them multiple times. Zapier and Make both have error logs that tell you exactly what went wrong and where did you go wrong. Most fixes take like 5 minutes once you know where to look, and the first fix is the hardest, of course. After that, you will just be able to diagnose and repair most of the issues quickly. Of course, you have the LLMs also to help you, and the investment is real. A few hours to build, the occasional bit of maintenance, the return is also real. A task that you used to need uh, that used to need you every time now happens without you. Imagine that. Great deal indeed. Okay. By the way, this video is a part of the full course, AI for non-tech professionals. The link is in the description. And wow, this brings us to the final video of this course. And it's neither a summary nor a celebration. What we are going to talk about is the most fearful topic which we began with, AI agents. A topic that most AI non-tech professionals wonder how to do without coding. So, yes, if you haven't checked out the introduction video of this course, you should check it out because I started it with that. And I will end it with how you can do better with AI agents. I really want to help you look at AI agents with a non-tech lens. So, see you in the final video.